Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my fellow YouTubers, Facebookians. Aries here at Aaron's house. Sorry about the lighting, and I'm sorry about the thing. Apparently, his computer's set for outdoor settings. So, anyways, this video is about life skills program special education, and it will be uploaded on my own channel. So for all of you, this is an additional video. Aaron and I decided that it would not be good being on a cigar website, or not cigar website, but our cigar channel, Living Simply and Fun. But we also talk about different things. This isn't really Living Simply and Fun, but we had a guy who basically insulted. I just went through the video before I start with my story, and basically, for all of you out there watching this, I was called a racist, so I decided to go through the video. Miss Angela has watched it. She understands. Apparently people wanted to, what do you call it, accuse me of being racist and being not disabled. Well, let me tell you a story to show disability. Aaron spoke today on a joint video about schools. How one of the things he said was it's not normal for regular people like me, as he said it, not regular people, but people like me to be going into a school where instead of learning math and social studies and English, they tried mainstreaming me in high school, and I failed. For that, I was in special education classes all the way up to the time that I was dropped out. The other thing is when I went in, some of the stuff in life skills from like 2nd grade to 4th grade, I had a teacher that got me into cursive. We had to do cursive. It was the thing of that time. And I just want to say, because Aaron probably had to go through the same thing, how to write in cursive. I don't know what they taught in his curricular for school. But when we got into 4th grade, it was more of spelling bees and educating us for reading from 4th and 5th grade. When 5th grade turned around to 6th started getting into minor mainstreaming. Well, when I was born, my medical files from Children's Hospital under the mental said that I was 3 or 4 years behind in developmentally disabled, so by law. So because of that, wasn't autistic, but developmentally disabled. So they say in the life skills program that I looked up today, they try to talk about teach people cognitive skills, living on their own, and other issues. Just checking my tablet. Something popped up on Facebook. My apologies. And they did technology. Now back then, when I was going to school, between 90 and 93 for life skills, I'm sorry to say, but we didn't have much in the way of technology and computers. Yes, I had an 8088 and an 8086. Then I got a 286 and a 386 and then a 486. Problem is, back then, the computer wasn't advanced with that much, with Windows that much. We had basic DOS and Windows Basic, but it was still very expensive. Your basic SX computer back then was about $4,000, and we didn't want to pay $4,000 on credit, but my mom did. I also had a Commodore 64 and an Amiga system. Now, growing up from 1981 to certain times, we had arcades and pinballs and other things, and that wasn't really high-end technology. But when the game console came out in '85, it was between Sega Master System and the NES. Well, the Master System, you couldn't find much about it unless you went to specialty stores. The NES reigned supreme. So, came to 90s to 93, it was NES and Super NES I was playing, and strategy guides and etc. that I had. Now, And then the Game Boy and etc. Game Boy I got when I was in fifth grade, and fifth grade, and I enjoyed it. But anyways, the bottom line is when it came to schooling in the life skills programs, the government decided to, or not the government, the school. I don't know how they work it now. Like I said, technology is different. 97, when I was trying to take care of my sister's kids while she was working, that was the first time I understood about Windows 95 and dial-up internet. You could have 3.1 and 3.11 with a modem, but it didn't work that well, and it was one of those slow baud modems through the phone lines. And back then, before we had the internet, we had bless you, phone books. For example, Aaron's got a phone book somewhere around his house. They gave us some free. They delivered to the door, and the phone books was the type where we had to have a list of all these names and numbers in the phone book. And, well, you could pull up certain phone numbers in white pages and yellow pages. We had to make phone calls in school to... They already were pre-planned ahead, apparently. The teachers wanted us to call companies and ask questions and get pricing, and then we'd go in there and purchase. Sometimes she would sit there in 7th grade and 8th grade. We had to go through the Sunday's papers for the ads, and we'd have to look over the shopping, and then the next day we would have to take our section of the ads home, go through them with our parents because, it's the life skills program. Parents would say, oh, here's your shopping list, here's your cash. My mom was a waitress, so I always had a huge amount of cash. And we'd have to go shopping on the bus. Now, Monday was always the Sunday's paper thing. And Monday was one of those where unless we had to go to specific places, it was usually shopping Tuesday. Tuesday was shopping. Sometimes we'd have special outings, which was Wednesdays, another shopping day. Sometimes we had to go to the laundromat. Sometimes we had to go other places. I mean, for the first trimester of special ed in 7th and 8th grade was bowling. They're like, well, you need to interact with people, you're going bowling. Second trimester was roller skating. Third trimester was swimming. Now, we all had to follow certain guidelines. We had to have swimsuits or swim trunks. We had to have this, that, and the other, earplugs, etc. But in between, we'd have 1 to 2 big, field trips, going places. Like, sometimes Wednesdays or Thursdays was the days we'd have to go to a restaurant, whether it be Denny's, a burger place, whatever. We'd have to do shopping and then groceries. And my mother, she always liked to buy groceries daily. So instead, it's like, oh, this life skills program is great. Rita gets to go shopping. We'd go out. Oh, well, today we're going to be pricing out these items, and you have 2 hours to go through the store to find it. Well, it'd either be Albertsons, Safeway, Fred Meyer's, which is Kroger's, Top Food and Drug, QVC or Foodway or something like that. Anyways, it was just different stores. And wherever we go, they'd be like, well, today's we're going here. Then we'd have to go and shop, and then we'd have to sit there. And even if we got our phone, our work done on our paper, I was going to get to the phone book work in a second. I was thinking phone books. But anyways, we get the papers, we'd get everything put together, and then all of a sudden, we'd get done, and then the teacher would be like, well, let's go shopping. These are the items that you need, and it's in the ads. Yes. Teacher would stop us and say, is it the right ounces? Is it 18.5 ounces? Oh, it isn't? Put it back and get the other one. Keep looking. Eventually, we'd look at it, and then nowadays, part of the life skills program is you go into the store, you look around, and it says, oh, on sale, Campbell's soup. Okay. Usually Campbell's soup back then was like 18.5 ounces. Now it's like 14.5 ounces. They keep cutting things down. But you'd look at it and you'd be like, oh, okay, this is Campbell's soup. 14 and a half ounces. $1.19 for mushroom soup. Okay, back then mushroom soup was 79 cents a can. Chicken noodle soup was like 45 cents a can. Prices went up. So sometimes we have to sit there and be like, well, today we're going to be showing you not how to drive, but how to go and pump gas and, look at the best deal for gasoline. Back then, gas was cheap. We'd be sitting there, and then sometimes it's like, well, today we're going to be going to a pizza shop. So we can sit and the pizza guys will tell you at Alfie's Pizza, Domino's Pizza, how to make a pizza. And then afterwards you get to have a pizza meal for yourself. Great. Sometimes we'd be sitting there and it'd be like, well, today we're going to be going to some other place. In the end, you'd be sitting there and, it'd be like, well, today we're going to the Seattle Center for the science wing, but you can also go, if you have permission, to go up to the top of the Space Needle with a friend, and then you can have lunch up there if you wish, as long as you have the money. I always had money because Mom was a waitress. So, and then you can go around the amusement park down below the Space Needle, which was called Enchanted Village, and or Enchanted Forest. Enchanted Village was Wild Waves in Enchanted Village, another theme park we went to. But anyways, I'll get to that in a bit. So we'd have to do things, and then they'd be like, well, in special education also before life skills, they'd drag us along to the zoo every time, or plays all the time, and the aquarium all the time. And, after a while, it got to the point where you'd be sitting there. Heck, I had some special education classes, special ed classes in elementary school. We had like 6 special ed classes going together. And they put me with a teacher in a van, told me I'm sitting in the front of the van. The teacher didn't want me to be in the back of the van. She thought I was different. But I had my security binky with me. This is before I had the new binky. And I was like Linus. She used to make jokes with me, calling me Linus, because of peanuts. Because I'd have to sit there with the binky, but I never had the piano. However, I think Linus didn't play a piano. I think it was Schroeder that played the piano.
Yes.
So, you see, even though I remember peanuts, Aaron agreed. So, life skills, it was, certain times, certain days. The life skills students would always get picked on in school. It'd be like, I'd like to be an effing retard, then we can go bowling. Or, I'd like to be an effing retard, then we don't have to do much. Well, in home economics was simple, except for actual bullies in home economics stole my project and made me fail half my class there because I was told to make up some pillows. I had pillows that were like this big that was being made by me, like this. It's the size of like a 25-pound cheese wheel, 2 of them. My mom bought the ingredients, or not ingredients, I should say, the materials. Ingredients and materials, 2 different things, to make the pillow. I had it almost finished and it was stolen. Teacher said, oh, there's other people making the same thing. Teacher didn't want to turn around and say, your pillow was stolen. We can't go and tell little Bobby Joe to go hand it back, and if you punch him, that's expulsion of school. So my mom said, F it. She had to go into school periodically, and she got to the point where she said, the hell with it. I mean, in 7th grade was different, but in 8th grade, instead of having the same homeroom teacher, I got a different teacher. We call her Miss Battle Axe. She's an old bags, basically. I mean, she was always riding me, but when I came in sick a few times, she'd go and take me into another room of the school, because we had little rooms with phones in them, because our special education class was the only ones in the entire school that had phones next to the teacher. So instead of going into a homeroom teacher that wasn't special ed, mainstream in junior high school, there was no phones. We had the phones. It'd be like, let me give you an example. A friend of mine, Aaron. I'm just going to use his name. Aaron, go answer the phone. You're like, thank you for calling Mrs. Johnson's class. My name is Aaron. How may I help you? That's the stuff we had to do. And then they'd be like, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. And then I'd go and get the teacher. I mean, this is the stuff that we had to do in special education. And then, it would be like, well, teacher would be going shopping for herself, and it's like, oh, well, I need to get an axe head, and I need to get a new axe handle, and I need to get this for my husband. And she'd go to the local, I don't remember what sporting goods store it was or hardware store. It was an old one that went out of business now, but when I grew up, it was the place to get tents and barbecues. And you know, my mom got herself a nice propane barbecue for 29 bucks. It had to be a symbol. It came with a propane tank. It was like one of those Black Friday sale things before Black Friday even took effect. It was like one of those after Christmas sale jobbies. We always barbecued, but the point is it was so you know, interesting, you know, that we had to interact with only life skills students, and most of them were worse than me. I mean, there was people with Down syndrome that had to have barbecue sauce in their mac and cheese at lunch and barbecue sauce in their chicken sandwich. Me, I had ranch on my chicken sandwiches. I'd have a double sandwich, and you know, but everyone else, I mean, we had access to the soda machines, but bottom line is, if you look around, when it comes to life skills, we had not much to do. And when it came to the reading time, every day after we got back from our shopping after lunch, we had to do a reading course. We could read what we wanted. I'd read medical journals, medical encyclopedias, strat guides, how to beat this video game, this magazine. Teacher didn't care. At the time, we didn't care. However, sometimes they'd make us do stupid things, like the teacher sitting there, and I liked aircraft carriers. I made a wooden aircraft carrier. Teacher said, this isn't finished. I said, yes it is. She said, no, you got to paint it. So I painted it. She said, no, you got to put more on it. Teacher made me ruin my freaking aircraft carrier. So as soon as I got it home, I stripped down the paint, and then I put it the way it was. She wanted me to put all these dots on it, saying it's got to have all these dots, like a landing strip, like an Christmas, an aircraft carrier with white Christmas lights all across it. And it's like, no. Finally, I got it cleaned back up, and it was normal. I enjoyed it. It was one of those things I actually put into a glass case, but when I moved, it disappeared. Stuff like this, you know. Shop class. It was the only time in shop class where I had to have a teacher's aide go in 7th and 8th grade. And the teacher would be sitting there, and the teacher at the time, he was at the school for 30 years, and I found out that he was my sister's teacher, and my other sister's teacher, and my other sister's teacher. When I told him, he goes, oh, I remember them. They were hell back then, and your mom, she's still alive? Yeah. I don't envy you, son. Right. Then he turned around to the teacher's aide and said, you're not coming into my shop. She said, well, we work together, sir. His name was like Phil or something. And she's like, Phil, we work together. And he's like, you're not wearing black hose, brown hose, or white hose in my class. You take your hose off, put them in a bag, come in, not wearing a dress but jeans, during shop class every day. And then we won't see you go up and smoke because you're wearing stockings that can melt while in metal class. Okay. So eventually, you know, they forced us out of shop class because the teacher's aides for the life skills programs couldn't wear what she wanted, like shimmery tights, because, for example, it was a fire hazard in the metal shop. Okay. So we got stripped of that program, you know. And then, you know, we still got picked on. Heck, shop class, metal class, I had to get to the emergency room because the kids picked on me for being a special education class by putting metal sharp things on my chair, and I didn't see it. I'm blind. So I sat down. I started crying. Teacher asked what's wrong. I said something, and he looked down there and he said, who did it? The entire shop class got in trouble for it. Me, I had to go to the emergency room. So technically, I do not like little metal, you know, and I'd have tetanus shots and all this crap. Eventually, my mother said, after the teacher's aide was told not to do this and that, you know, we were basically between the teacher's aide and me getting hurt. That was it. Then they wanted me to be in PE class, not once, but twice. During the first time, no one wanted me on their teams. So I finally told the teacher, you can basically go with... She was like a lesbian dyke at the time, is what I've heard. But she was the type of woman that went to the life skills teacher and said, I can't have this kid. There's somewhat trouble, but at the same time, I can't handle special ed because everyone's picking on them. They put me in the special education PE class, and removed me from the other one because they didn't want me having 2 classes. So 7th and 8th grade was interesting. And 7th and 8th grade also, we had teachers that was teaching us Macintosh computers. I said no one. I even spoke up and said no one's going to use the Macintosh, especially that had computers at the time. It's useless. Oh no, Macs are the future. Soon as I got into high school special ed, everyone was using IBMs, and we were playing Doom. It's like, oh well, you passed your speed test for your typing on the keyboard. Doom, Wolfenstein, those are the games, and SimCity. And the other one, we didn't have games in 7th and 8th grade. It's do a school report, print it out. You need to buy these floppy disks. Well, the floppy disk got corrupted, and so we could not use them ever again. We couldn't even learn how to save photos. Back then, we didn't have photo editing programs. It's basically spreadsheets and Word documents, and it was more Word documents. Do stories on it. The Word documents back then in special education was useless. In 9th grade, it was still useless. And I had students that go in, and the teacher would be saying, you screwed up. I want 100 times as many pieces of paper as you got to write. I will not do this. Kid comes in, hands it in, and the teacher says, oh, okay. You know, whatever he did, he basically did it on the computer, and they accepted it. I turned in mine with a computer, and the teacher crumples it up. I said, well, such and such did it. Oh, well, that's a little different. So my mom would go and rip him a new one. They'd have to accept it. But he said, oh, well, with Windows, all you got to do is cut this and copy that and do this, and as many times and it's done. Well, it's still time consuming, so we got out of it. Eventually, we didn't have to do that on paper. Punishment, was that. But special education, we also had to be taught life skills. Every day, they'd go through with every one of us lining us up and saying, oh, you're a little dirty. Go down to the home economics room for life skills. Wash your face in the sink. Clean yourself up. Sometimes they'd force us to take extra showers at the swimming pool or the rec center so we get clean because they thought we weren't getting showered enough at home. And stuff like this that really was the type of things that they wanted us to do. Laundry, well, bring your laundry and we'll wash it. Why? We got washing machines at home. Throw them in, push a button. So instead they teach us at the laundromat. This is how you do it. This is what you do. Yeah, my mom, I'd be like, hey, laundry, right there. Go to my room. At the time, I had my own little microwave and coffee pot. I'd come out, Mom would be like, so, did you get your laundry done? It's going in the dryer. Oh, your shoes are wet. Throw in the shoe rack dryer part. Pop it in there. Going on and on and on. Whereas everyone else would sit there and be like, oh, well, you were privileged. No, I wasn't. Every life skills person I knew, their parents had a washer and a dryer and a dishwasher. I mean, we had to sit there and do home ec, and it's like, well, today, Rita's going to be giving us a treat. What did your mother provide us? Ramen noodles. So we'd have to show how to do it. One girl did stew, another girl did beans and hot dogs, and we'd have like one day a week where we'd have to all do these little cooking things, and then dishes. And then the dishes would be done. But they'd be like rinse off. And then the teacher would stand there and flip the garbage disposal. No one was allowed near the disposal. Next thing you know, in the dishwasher, push a button. Okay, time to go to homeroom again. It was like, what the, But in special ed, we were picked on. It's like, oh, look at the freaks. Look at the retards. Look at this. Look at that. I mean, it was like that in 7th and 8th grade. 8th grade, I remember one time, I was sitting there doing some stuff, and teacher comes in, and the teacher has a child psychologist that also is a teacher's aide, and also does teaching, and also talks to us about our problems. Looks around, tells my homeroom teacher in 8th, I'd like to take a student with to go get the graduation gifts for 8th grade, so they can go into 9th a little more prepared. So looked around, take Rita. Kid gets up, I haven't gone yet! I haven't gone yet! And I'm like, yeah. She says, is there a problem? I said, my mom didn't authorize it, So they go into the little box and called up my mom at work. She said, sure. Well, what did we do? We had to go to different stores. Staples and, Office Max or Depot and Costco and all these places all morning until lunchtime. And then we swung by Denny's, had lunch, because my mom was a waitress there. Then drove to the other place, has got everything prepared, and the teacher says, "Are you going there?" And I said, "Nah, Mom won't let me go." Well, apparently it was a graduation thing where every student had to go or else. And it's like, well, I don't want to go. Give me my damn video games and I'll be happy. Well, stepfather, a guy who adopted me, says, "Get in the damn truck, we're going over there. Your mom's working late. She's got this to do." Mom was an alcoholic, so liked her wine. And was at the bar. So we drive over there and they're like, I knew what they were giving away. Papers, pens, book bags, etc. for the students. I sat there and my name called, "Rita, come up." I'm like, but the point is when I was driving with the teacher to the places, the teacher asked me what I wanted to do in life. I said, "Well, I want to be a girl." Teacher said, "It's a long, hard road, but I think you can manage." The other student just looked at me like, 7th grader. We had to take a 7th grader to go shopping with us. But the teacher was, the teacher's aide and the child psychologist was forced to because he threw a fit, being like never got to go. The teacher was going to only take one student. Instead, she had to take 2. Well, my mom took care of my lunch. The teacher's aide made, you know, we had money put aside for lunch, you know, certain tasks. And when we had to go all over the place, it was just downright wrong and downright weird, you know. But when we got done, it was like great, you know. I mean, in special education, I never got picked on by any of the special education students. 7th grade, there was one incident with another student, but that's a story for another time. Except I was accused of something that this girl gave me, and I know Angela's watching this. Angela knows what it is. But anyways, the story is I told the teacher, "Hey, she gave me the stuff. It's at home. You want to check my locker? Go for it." Teacher found out I wasn't there, so what type of game are you playing? Telling the girl. The girl was trying to save her own bacon. Instead, things fell apart till like 4 days before graduation when I had to try to fix things with her. Then I checked in with her brother in 8th grade, and then after that she disappeared. And I've told Aaron many times over, I wonder what's happened with her. Also, I've been told that if I was ever going to get married to any girls, it would have been a girl from Life Skills because no one else was going to accept someone as retarded as me. That was the thing going on with my sister's boyfriend at the time, my drug addict niece, whose dad said the same thing, but he also said I needed confidence, and if I showed confidence and strength, I could be a man. So it was not an easy task. But with Life Skills, you know, and then the phone book work. Sometimes during, I remember a few times with my PE teacher, sometimes they forced me to have 3 PE classes. Teacher wanted 1, so she pulled me out of 2 of them. I'd be sitting in an empty room when the teacher was planning other things, doing phone book work. You'd be like, "Here, you're going to look up this info." I got so mastered of the phone book work, she finally stuck me on catalog detail. Sears catalogs that was thicker than this. This is a famous smoke shop, by the way. Sitting there, and then I got mastered to that, because eventually my mom would sit there and say, "Oh, we got the latest catalog. Is there something you need in it besides clothes?" "Well, I want this and this." My mom would say, "Okay, call them up." Then my mom would give the information. She said, "My kids in Life Skills, they're placing the order. I'm just using my card." "Okay, no problem." Done and done. Nowadays, you got to go through this channel, that channel to just prove who you are. In the 80s and the early 90s, it wasn't like that. My mom would call up a catalog and say, "My kids want these games. Order it." No problem. Catalog done. Done and done. You know. Stuff like that. So, back in the day, you know, it was easier to do certain things than not doing certain things because, you know, those certain things were, back then were pretty dang hard. Heck, I used to read strat guides on video games, role-playing games at the time, just so I can get through it. But I had favorite games I'd replay over and over and over, thinking this game is, you know, better and easier than sliced bread. But again, those are things that I did when I had the time. When I got home from school, my mom would say, "How was it?" "Here's the bananas you wanted. Here's the groceries you wanted." My mom would tell me, "Put them away." See, back in the day, other students would go home and they'd just leave it on the counter and the parents would put it away. My mom would be like, put it away. Eventually, my mom basically thought, since I dropped out of school, here's some meat, here's a recipe, here's a cookbook, you know, find the recipe for this meat, cook it. That was the way my mom was for life skills. She let me be in my room as a hermit. I'd come and go as I pleased. But I stayed in my room 99% of the time. But, you know, this is after I dropped out of school. But before then, when 9th grade came, 9th grade was less and less shopping, but like twice a week instead of 5 times a week. And the rest of the time was mainstream. We still got picked on. Heck, I met a couple people in mainstream. A couple of them, girls that wanted to be boys and they were living as boys, and I didn't even pick up on it until the teacher spilled the beans, because I told the teachers I wanted to be a girl. They'd come to me and say, I guess you met someone that you didn't know. At the time, we didn't know. All I knew was you know. Oh, and the other thing about life skills and special education is we always had to do the show and tell crap, whether it be fire trucks, dump trucks, Barbie dolls, My Little Pony. Aaron's probably chuckling about My Little Pony, but you know what? I'm not afraid to say I used to watch My Little Pony. I used to watch Barbie's cartoons when they had a Barbie's cartoon, I think it was. Oh no, it wasn't Barbie. It was a Strawberry Shortcake. Then I had to deal with other things like G.I. Joe, which I didn't like, and then I had my own favorite shows back then, you know. And so, with all of that, you know, I always thought that I was going to end up with a person who was life skills. I always thought about the one that, well, Angela knows about that one. The one that accused me of something that she gave me, and she gave it from her heart and then wanted it back. And, well, I thought eventually I would end up with her as a wife. Instead, I dropped out, didn't know where she went. My friends didn't know where she went. Most of the friends in life skills dropped out between 9th and 12th, the people that I went to school with, because they couldn't hack it either. Some went to work as burger flippers and some did this, and, you know, etc. Then, my mom's boyfriend at the time, before I went to Australia, tried getting him into another life skills program for finding jobs for people that dropped out, you know, people like me. We went through the right federal programs, we failed. Finally, when I came back from Australia, they diagnosed me properly with all these disabilities, which since 2001, 2002, I've been on disability since. And I've gone worse in a lot of ways. I mean, my mom's boyfriend left, and then it was just me and my mom, and then we had Greedy's sister who wanted everything for herself, and then eventually I met Aaron. I still, you know, at the time, I was in my second relationship, and, you know, Aaron's held me together since 2005. That's 10 years. 10 years. Aaron puts up with me, I put up with him. Sometimes we don't agree, and sometimes, as I said to, you know, as Aaron said in the video, I can't help my disabilities, but at the same time, you know, unless you use full discipline, I've tried to ask Aaron on my disabilities because I got light paranoia not to fuel the fires on certain issues so I don't have arguments. That's the thing. I don't like sitting on the street and hearing someone spat off something, which I know is true, and then I'm trying to tell them, don't bring that up, don't bring that up. It doesn't apply to me. I don't want to hear it. Next thing you know, we're getting in a full-blown argument over something stupid. And then I get our tempers flare and we get very upset. So I just want a life where we can talk about video games and movies and music, and once in a while, like, oh, the occasional phone call that we got to do. But otherwise, I don't want to sit there and be like, sitting there and being like, oh no, that's full, you're full of crap, Aaron, and then we get into an argument and then we're both wrong. Like the thing that he brought up, the Canadian healthcare thing, for example. But see, back then, the other form of entertainment and stuff that we had to do in life skills, besides now having a tablet to do things, is we didn't have tablets back then. We had technology that was less than tablets. We had no email. I never had email until about 1999. And then I thought email was better than sliced bread because I could send an email via modem. The email would go through the phone lines to a server because the servers were all connected faster at the time. It'd go through it, and sometimes people say, oh, did you get the email? No. Eventually the email would come in like 40 minutes later, but it had a relay at the time through servers, to other servers, just to get to the wifey at the time in Australia. So I never understood how come it wasn't fast, but the email did come. It said when it sent, and then, when they got it, it says received at. So, anyways. So, yeah. Anyways, the other thing we had to do in life skills is sit down every bloody day and read the bloody newspaper. We had to read the papers, recite what we read in it, give a little report on it, and it got boring. It's like, well, this person here's house burnt down. It's like, why should we read about this misery when this person's house burned down? Or, oh yeah, we read about this thing happening and this guy got robbed almost by Christmas time. It's like, no one wants to hear about it. Or they'd say, what's today's thing? And Rita, what's the weather like? The weather report for the next 5 days is blah, blah, blah. Again, boring as hell. You see what I'm saying? You got all these boring, useless crap in the world, as Mr. Aaron would say. And then you got people like us being picked on because we had to go through special education to learn how to read a newspaper. And nowadays, I've just looked up the special education courses now. It's how to use the internet, how to use email, how to use a tablet, how to use a Kindle reader. Back then, now I'm almost 40 years old, and I gotta pull up the tablet just so I can use the application for the Kindle reader. And then, then we gotta sit there and, for example, I'm gonna go and rant a bit. We also had another thing. Once a week, we'd have to go to the post office and drop off letters to family or cards or whatever, and write a little letter and drop it in the mailbox, teaching us letter abilities, right? So I learned how to write letters. So I'd go and I'd write companies inquiring about something, stick it in the mailbox. Mom gave me 100 stamps a month, basically, and said, this is part of your schooling, learn it. I'd write letters here and there, drop them in the box. Guess what? I got replies back, thank you for contacting this, thank you this, thank you that, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, you plop something in the box, they send you an email, a letter back, basically, and I'll get to the email part I was going to say. If you want to know more, please email us. It's faster than writing us. They don't give you the answer. Or, thank you for contacting Nintendo. 9 months later, they give you an email, a letter back. It's like the other day, Aaron and I were talking about this company, right here, if you could see it. Electronic Arts. They make Dragon Age. I asked questions. Aaron says, you know what, Rita? Just give me the chance. I'll test out the games on my system at home. And if it plays, then the game is not locked. Same with this one, which I believe is by EA too. Kingdoms of Amalur. What happened? Okay, Aaron, I'll let you test him out. He goes and loads Dragon's Dogma up, which he's playing because he likes it. It's a game I got to look at him getting for Christmas. Again, talking about Christmas and special education classes at Christmas time, the day after Thanksgiving, or, after we got back from Thanksgiving holiday, we started doing the Christmas shopping for family and friends and students. We had to do the Christmas tree thing. Well, same people I got for 7th grade was the girl that accused me in June of the following year of me not giving back something that was hers that she gave me outright. So, when it came to it, we had to do shopping, and we did go to the mall, and the teacher would be like, you can go your own way, but just remember, don't piss off the people because we won't be allowed to go shopping again. So, some of these people would sit there, and they'd sit there, and we had this one guy, you could see, people made fun of him. They'd say, like, fire, 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 and he'd run out the door, fire, 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 like a retard, because he was, and I'd be like, dude, don't make fun of him. And so we'd go around, my teacher would be like, here's our places, right? I'd be like, do we have a teacher's aide? No. You're going to go with the 8th grade such and such. Great. She'd be like, oh, great, I get to go with you. Her name is Carrie. Carrie and I would go to other places, and we'd go over to the mall, and we'd walk around like husband and wife, as she would say. And we'd be just sitting there, and I'd go into Suncoast Motion Pictures, Camelot Music. There was Sam Goody, I think it is. Do you remember that one, Sam Goody?
Oh, yep.
Sam Goody Music, Camelot Music, The Warehouse. All these music and I'd come out with DVDs, and so my mom would stack me up with money and say, here's what you got to get for your family. Next thing you know, my mom would be lunchtime driving the car around being like, got him? Yep. Here you go. Thank you. Hey, Mom, what about you got a student program you're doing where you got to write up a Christmas list. I want to see it. Bring it by Denny's. The teacher's like, will do, Miss Rita's mom. I'd look at the teacher, and I'd be like with a newspaper rolled up, like, lie on it, like an old granny, you know. Next thing you know, the teacher would be like, are you done already? Well, we already mastered all the malls. I got everything done. I tried on clothes. I got what I needed. What's next? Well, if you got time, maybe you should go and check out this. You have a nephew, right? Yeah, he's a little wiener head. Why is he a little wiener head? He cries all the time. Can't we just give him a pacifier and tell him to shut up? Next thing you know, teacher had authorized us to go across the street from the mall over Toys R Us. We'd run around there, you know. I'd pick up a few things. Next thing you know, are you done? Yes. Oh, well, there's this game store here, and this here. I'd come out. Next thing you know, oh, Rita, you're already done? Go over to these stores over here across from the mall. Next thing you know, I'm at Target. Then we'd get back to the bus, and she's like, well, we're going over to this little subsection of the mall. It's called an outer shopping mall, where it's got like TJ Maxx and, you know, other places. We'd get done. Next thing you know, heck, we even hit KB Toys when they were around, you know, buying stuff, you know. We'd get done, and then the next day, the teachers would be like, well, some of you didn't get all your shopping lists done, so your parents want us to go to another store. Oh, great. Where are we going today? Next thing you know, Everett Mall. One time, we had to have the special outing, right? Teacher says, we're going to run a motel. Each of you get your own room. We have everything planned. Next thing you know, we hit up like every mall under the sun before Christmas. Took the ferry over, drove all over. We hit like Seattle Mall, this mall, that mall. Heck, one time at Christmas time, you know, same time, we had to go back to this mall because we were at Space Needle at the time, Christmas time. The teachers wanted us to go down, take the little horsey carousel thing. Next thing you know, we're freaking sitting there at this mall, and I'm like, oh, well, this mall's got 3 floors, but it's smaller mall. We got everything done. It's like, what's next? Oh, well, there's the McDonald's at 3 floors. We go over there, we'd have lunch. Then we'd be like, from lunch, you know, we had a special program. Next, you know, we're seeing how the Postal Service works for incoming mail, you know, at certain things of the big mail center. And then they're like, well, our bigger mail centers that you want at the airport. Next, you know, like next week later, we'd be at the airport. Next, you know, my uncle pulling, hey, Rita, how are you? Good. Next, you know, I'd be driving around the airport with him around on this little cart going to Pizza Hut. Then he showed me the international mail coming in, and then the mail hub where he picks up the mail, and he showed me how to do it, and then I got back on, you know. It's these little trips that really irritated me because I even asked the teacher, what's the point of going down to the Postal Service just to see how on these long field trips, which we had a lot of, to learn about how mail is sorted. We're not going to be postal workers. I mean, heck, one time we got to go through the Boeing plant, you know, and they showed us how the airplanes are being built. My uncle's like, driving around, you know, and saying, hey, Rita, how are you? Getting in. Another uncle. Again, so, when you got all of this stuff going around, then you wonder, you know, what is going on in the world. And so, you know, a few years later, you know, because I never graduated, I was working at Denny's, you know, and the teacher would bring in her students. They said, oh, you got a job. Well, I eventually slipped and fell and damaged my back so bad there that they didn't want me working there anymore, as well as the program they tried to put me on to be a janitor failed. Because, again, I slipped in the damn rain, sleet, hail, and fell over backwards into a dumpster. Another janitor from another building found me because we had to share a dumpster and asked me what happened. Next thing you know, he helped me in my mom's boyfriend's car, and I went to the hospital. And that was the end of my janitorial days. You know, then I decided to use the internet, and I found Fiona, went over to Australia for 4 years, came back to deal with some problems because my sister figured, well, Rita's a retard, we don't need to worry about her. Did a lot of damage to me, and now I don't talk to her much. Then. And then she accuses me of many things. And while growing up, by the way, bringing up life skills, special education, and being disabled, I do want to bring up the fact that growing up from 3 to 4 years, I was picked on by cousins, kids, sisters. If anyone got the blame for it, it's me. So when Aaron sits there and says, no, you're wrong, and then I got to get defensive, and then we're both wrong to a point, but I'm like, well, history says it's earlier than, no, you're wrong. And then I get raising my voice like a demon, like, no, I'm right. Next thing you know, Aaron and I are standing there looking at each other like, why did we get into the argument? Then we look up the facts on it, and he's like, well, you're right, but I'm right, but we're both wrong. So I'm like, let's just chalk it up to, you know, like today, I want to say, well, I was right. But, you know, thinking about the argument, no, I was wrong. And, you know, if we just got past the not causing the arguments by not adding fuel to the arguments, just walk along, you know, and be like, so how's the Mariners? Crappy. And said, oh, yeah, and then this happened, and blah, blah, blah. No, didn't, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, we're arguing about politics and religion. That's when you got to sit back and say, enough is enough. Let's just talk about, say, that video game Aaron's playing right now, for example. Those are things I'd like to talk about. And then, you know, Aaron, once in a while, Aaron's like, oh, yeah, I want to tell you about my brown bag sampler. I don't want to hear it. I didn't get to try those cigars. Well, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Eventually he realizes, okay, Rita hasn't tried it, you know, but, you know, it's selfish of me. I should say, yes, please enlighten me on those cigars. Instead, I don't want to hear it. It's like the other day, a friend of mine at Skype said something you didn't want to hear it. She's like, uses the Skype icon with the little yellow emoticon with his fingers in the ear going, she didn't want to hear it. So she's like, I'm pig-headed. I don't want to hear it. Well, then don't ask me your damn bloody advice, you know? That's the whole damn point of the whole damn thing, you know? I mean, it's like the letter thing I was venting about, the whole postal thing, how we had to write letters. I wrote to Electronic Arts. Guess what? They never wrote back to me. Aaron made a joke the other day. Tell them to do it like Nintendo 9 months later. Well, you know what? Aaron's advice, the best advice is, and you know what? All it would have costed Aaron is 0 cents. Aaron's looking at me right now thinking, 0 cents? What the hell is she talking about?
I have
the Post-it. No, I can. I know you very well in your head. The 0 thing is, you know, and this is the truth is, I spent 49 cents on a postage stamp. He could just plug the damn games into the system, see if they lock to my system or not. Why pay 49 cents? Heck, I was told if a guy doesn't get back to you via email, write them. If they don't write you back, they don't want your business. I've had that happen where the God says, knock and the door will be answered. Well, there you go. So, life skills was an interesting thing, you know, between going clothes shopping, between going shopping for food at restaurants, all these stinking field trips, with 90% of them were useless. The theme park ones were great. The swimming, the roller skating, the bowling was great on Fridays. Fridays after bowling and stuff, we had to do the damn grocery shopping thing. So we had a later lunch. And it was boring. I mean, boring as hell. Push a shopping cart around. Oh, is that the right size that your mom wants? I don't know. Mom said get bananas. There's a banana run right there with 20 bananas. I'm just taking the whole damn 20. I even said that like my stepfather would say. Teacher said, watch your mouth. I said, no, you watch your mouth. Mom wants bananas. She wants to make banana bread and every other damn thing. She can freaking do it. She's got enough right there to make me banana splits. Oh, look, second rung of bananas with 19. I'll take these ones. My mom said, you got bananas. Here you go. Heck, one day I ate 9 bananas alone. My mom thought I was going to die. Yeah, it was just like I got home, you know, I was hungry. But then, you know, you have this whole special ed life skill thing about cooking, you know. And, you know, and they were simple meals. It's like, oh, do this and do that, make this, and make your own nachos. Can't we have something more complex? Oh, well, we're going to make smoothies with this, this, and this, and ground ice. My mom would come home and say, I brought you apples. I want apple crisp. All right. Oh, you learned how to make apple pie? Make me one. Fine. Problem is, at times, Mom just wanted to see what I could do. And then she says, oh, they've taught you well, but they didn't teach you. A few times I look at her and say, hey, lady, show me how to make the fried chicken. Oh, simple. Do this. Help me out in the kitchen. My sister would come in. I want to make this. My mom would be like, stay out of the kitchen. Between me and Rita, you can't cook worth the damn. Okay. So, heck, my grandmother used to get me up in special education classes in the morning. She's like, kid wants bunk beds. Got bunk beds. Then my grandmother would get me up and say, go to school. Here's your backpack. Some days my grandmother would pick me up. Other days the school bus would come and go. You know, so the point is back in the day, I mean, I was special, yes. I mean, I've also told Angela and others. I mean, heck, I was like this one time in the back of the bus. And I had like a coat like this over my head. I was like this. Bus driver sitting there driving, and she pulls on the side, right? And my mom, for reasons unknown, I don't know why she had it, but anyways, I'd have the thing like this, car phone, in a bag. They called them bag phones. And I'd be like, yeah, I want a pizza. I knew with the pizza people, they'd be like, okay, Rita, when do you want it? You're on the bus, okay, sure. My mom would already leave money out with a note telling me the day when she was getting me up for school, I'm leaving money on the table, get yourself a pizza, and I will be home late. The guy that lived downstairs, the owner of the house, who adopted me as a stepdaughter, would be like, oh, you're having pizza? What type? Not for you. I'd get like the most expensive, the bacon cheddar that came out. I loved it. And sometimes, until they got rid of it and they put $3 off, it was, hey, dude, you're 9 minutes late. Well, the pizza didn't come out right and we were running late. And, dude, it takes what? 10 minutes to get from the pizza shop to my place, and it took you 39 minutes. You're 3 minutes late, 9 minutes late, 6 minutes late. Free pizza. Here's a tip anyways. I think sometimes they knew I was disabled. My stepbrother started working there when he was 16, so he'd be like, oh, it's them? Okay. 16 to 18, you know, so. But, yeah, I mean, we had to go and even had to put in applications for special education for jobs that we knew we weren't qualified for. It was just like, put them in anyways, because the school made a deal with the companies. Like, I wanted to work at EB Games at GameStop. They actually took my application, did an interview, said I was perfect for the job, and then they told me outright, you're more intelligent than most. We just take the application, shred them, even if you're not 16. We're doing this for the benefit of the school. And then we found out the school actually paid the what do you call it? The manager of the stores at the time to actually do this, so they could actually take the time, because, you know, it's a few bucks in their pockets, and they got permission from headquarters to do it. Fred Meyer's, Safeway, Albertsons, they just wanted to show in life skills how to do an interview. I mean, it was amazing, you know. And then, because I never graduated high school, the interviews later in life, they all turned me down. It's like, well, we can clearly see you're disabled. You're better off in disability. You know, and that was after I had my accidents with my back and everything. And, you know, now I walk with a cane, but you get the whole idea, you know. And that is the main thing of the story, is life skills was, as one of my friends said in a private email to her, I think she said it to her, unless this loads not properly, she said to her it was pretty pointless, and kids in the special eds aren't challenged enough, and that was her thoughts. And, you know, I think Aaron was put into special education temporarily. Was that right, Aaron?
No.
Life skills?
No.
Then
I was in something called Pride, which was for so-called troubled children who needed direction. So I didn't think I should ever have been in it. My dad thinks it was wrong to put me in it, too.
Well, anyways, you heard the whole story, and so, you know.
So you got a long video there.
Anyways, well, this video...
My computer's not very good at connecting.
Well, we'll try our best, you know. So anyways, And the final part of this video, which I'm going to cut short, is the only times I enjoy going shopping is for games, videos, music, videos, movies, and some comic books, etc. But mostly I enjoyed the thing, But apparently Mom thought it was a good blessing for me to have the skills needed to go shopping, which nowadays I go through the grocery store and I reminisce about to myself of how I had to go through torment at the grocery stores when I was younger as a non-teen adult, growing up and listening to people talk about what we needed and what was on the sale. And we were also authorized not to pick up prescriptions or anything from the deli because of certain things that had to be canned or dry goods. Sometimes the teachers would allow us meat if it was on sale and not many people are buying it. She'd have to allocate certain times, but since the teachers liked my mother and they always made agreements with her because she was up there with the management at Denny's. She was not a manager, but she knew the management. Management liked them. That she got away with having one of the few places in the school because all of ours are a home ec room, the second home ec room, and our own school's classroom for the 3 special ed classes all had refrigerators in them. And we got to use them. We were limited on space. So the times that we had to shop, usually I got meat like turkeys and hams and other things that my mom wanted that she just wanted to get home after, for the 2 years that I had to go through this, 3 actually, because high school was doing it too, but I never graduated because they put me in mainstream. And that's where the teachers even told my mother, this kid cannot handle it. They're about 5 years behind in high school. What are you doing? So during those times before things happened in school and I told the school counselor and the counselor found out it was true, the thing was I was going to fail 9th. That was it. Failing 9th was not good. I could have graduated in 96, but I was failed in 4th grade. I was put back a year, and so yeah. And then in 6th grade, when all my stuff happened and I had almost a mental breakdown for reasons I'm not going into in this video, my mother talked to my teacher who loved me as a daughter. She drove a Camaro. She always was happy, always knew my mom, always went into Denny's to talk to her. My mom always said, well, my kid likes the way you wear white pantyhose and tights. And so she wore them. She was married, but when my mother found out that her niece was working at Denny's, we were invited to my teacher's wedding because she was that special. She died of a heart attack. So I was informed and I was sad. At the time, I was living in with my mom in her mobile home. So we went to the thing. She always asked how I was. My teacher always looked out after me. But anyways, some of my older teachers, one that lived in Redmond, would drive through the old roads daily and ran into me several times going up to the gas station and inquired why I was doing it. It's like, well, I live out here. Well, aren't you in school? No, because only certain counties at the time had special ed. And they could arrange for an inter-county pickup, but it would have cost the school more money. So my mom said, So after 9th grade, that was it. It was like 10th through 12th. I could have, 3 years I could have had inter pickup, but it wasn't worth it. And they wanted me in mainstream. They thought there was nothing wrong, but when they got my school files, they said it's better off for me to stay out of it and have not the taxpayers pay for me to go to school out there because it was a different county. So, because when I went out there, I was like 17 when a guy asked me why I was skipping school. I was sitting in my mom's boyfriend's car, and I said, well, I don't go to school, and I explained it to him. They grabbed me, told me to wait. The policeman came in, was saying I was vagrant, child, whatever, not going to school. Truancy. That's the word. Guy looked up my file and said, we don't want them in here. They need life skills. We don't provide it in this county and in this school district. Alright, got back in the car. Mom's boyfriend asked what happened, told the policeman we were going to sue him. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't sue. I got home, I stayed there. That was it, And then all this stuff happened. He thought I could work, and well, things fell apart. But he thought I could, but I couldn't. So, with everything that fell apart, you know, with everything, accidents, and so, you know, and most of the people I found out that I went to school with are on disability. I just heard rumors that the one girl that accused me of stuff that I didn't do got into real estate supposedly, but I can't confirm it. It's just what I heard. Everyone else I heard is on disability. So yeah, I don't know what else to say, but my favorite times were the fishing times, the bowling, the swimming, and the roller rink. I thought the school times, you know, trying to figure out, you know, the ounces and doing the laundry and all of that other stuff was pretty damn useless in my damn opinion, you know. I mean, that was my opinion, and, you know, that's how I felt about it, you know. And so being the way I am, I just figured I would share that with you all. So yeah, you know, some of it was good, some of it was bad. My opinion, and I've never told this to Aaron, even though he's playing a game right now, is I thought the special education program was kind of a waste of the taxpayers' money. If they knew those people couldn't be getting any higher education and they want life skills all the way to the 12th grade, and then they want to help them find a job, what's the point? They're just going to get on disability after they graduate 12th. You know, you could take some of that financial diversion of finances from special ed, put it into mainstream for the people, the mainstreamers, and then say, well, they got their education high enough up. I mean, heck, Aaron was telling me 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th graders where most people graduated back then during the 1800s because the farmers needed their kids to help plow the land. So technically, you know, and then you got people that say life skills people, special ed should be dead. We shouldn't be taking care of them. Well, God had these programs put into place for a reason, and he put it into place through the government. Therefore, these programs are needed. Now, like I said, you can all badmouth me, attack me for saying special education programs aren't needed, but as my friend said, Angela, it was pretty pointless. And in some ways it was. In my opinion, it was kind of boring when you weren't freaking... And we didn't have much of the times. We had like phone book work, reading, and we didn't even have math. The teacher taught us basic math. It's like once we got through 1/4 basic math, the rest of the time was like reading. And then we didn't even need it. When they put us in special education, they tried putting us in special education algebra. We all failed. Then we got into special education social studies. We all failed. Everything failed. The only class that we all passed was home ec, which was go shopping. Everything else was mainstream. Heck, I had American history and world history. We failed. So it tells you right there, heck, when we're not freaking doing anything in home ec, the teacher would be sitting there saying I was the smartest. Well, you've already done this in 10 minutes while everyone else is still glancing through it. Your report was done in 10. Go use the computer for the rest of the time until lunchtime. Lunchtime happened, we'd go back into this and that. And then we had other students who were in life skills, but they were getting picked on. Heck, one kid basically got in trouble for hooking up his TV adapter that was plugged to his Game Gear, plugged into the cable system to the school. And half the time when the teachers couldn't get us to learn algebra or social studies or history, she'd put in a movie. We're going to watch White Fangs, or we're going to watch something else. I can't remember. It was with a dog, like White Winter or something, you know, White Fang, and then there's one other one. Aaron knows movies better than I, you know. I talked to him once about White Fang and that other one that was like, you know, based on a dog/wolf. And that's the thing about high school, you know. There was like, we were so what do you call it? Brainwashed, I should say, or not encouraged, as Angela said, to be applied to the challenges, that we were stuck watching movies and reading comics and stuff because it was pretty damn useless. It's like, what's the point of getting up at 5:30 in the morning, seeing your mom and saying, hey mom, how's it going? Oh, have a coffee. Okay. You're going to school? Yeah. And my mom thought it was great, you know, we get to watch movies and do this and that and go shopping. We used to go to Olsen's, you know, and one time I walked through Olsen's and this guy's sitting there and he's like, telling us all this, and I finally said to the guy, can you tell me what this thing is? It was a giant thing about 4 foot high, 4.5 feet high on wheels, plugged into the wall, had ice in it. He said, oh, this one is to put soda in it, keeps it cold. This one, I said, what's this? This is water. Stick your hand in it. Just go ahead. He says, the water's got to be drained every night clean, so we're doing it now. I put my hand in it, and the water was ice cold. He said, you know what we're going to do? Elderly lady's going to be in 5 minutes. Have a seat, Rita. The lady comes in, asks for something. He already did drain the water, cleaned it back up, plugged it in, pushed the button, puts it in, right? Next thing you know, the lady's walking out 7 minutes later with an ice-cold bottle of wine. Now, we're not supposed to know about wine because it's alcohol. We're supposed to be young, and we're not supposed to be encouraged to know about it. What happens? I said, oh, it's a wine cooler. Yep. Your mom comes in here once in a while. So I'd waddle along to the Starbucks. They put Starbucks back in. And then after Olsen's, we'd walk across the street to McDonald's and then go back up the hill to the school. But we had these crappy little special education places. Oh, well, we're going to this place. Heck, a few times we had to go to Old Milltown, Lambeau's, this, that, and the other, Edmonds. Take the ferry, do this. And it was kind of boring. Go fishing in high school. It's like these, you know, going to the zoo. Why is a 9th grader wanting to go to the zoo? Why is this girl wanting to go to the aquarium at 9th grade? I mean, 9 years old's great. Oh, we're gonna go and see a day ball game. Cool, I'll take a ball game. We had that 3 times in the entire time we were there for, you know, the Mariners. No problem. We never got basketball. And then sometimes we'd be sitting there, and today we're going to be looking at programs that you can do with your family. Oh, yay! Disney on Ice. Oh, I'll go to that. Of course, I love Disney on Ice, so what the hell? My mom took me to all the Disney on Ice. Heck, we went to a couple plays where we had to watch ballerinas, you know, and it's like, doo, 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 doo. And I'd be sitting there thinking, and the girls, you know, they were like 18 plus, you know, nice girls, you know, and people would ask questions. They like, oh, yeah. I asked one question. The lady basically just looked at me, and I had to ask, you know, at the time. And they gave me the brand of tights they were using and the shimmeriness because, you know, I've never seen dance tights. But later when I was walking around, I found them. And since then, it's the best tights ever. But I had to ask a ballerina because it's the first time we saw a show, you know. And then we had to go see more ballets, and it's like, and then we sometimes had to see musicals. And then I sit there and see a friend of mine who's the one that basically married a foreigner because she doesn't think she'll get an American in her life above things. I think maybe she was life skills. But she's got an education. But anyways, she's got to go and review plays and ballets and stuff. It's like, what the fudge? Heck, we had to go sometimes to see people do karate class and how to break concrete blocks on their hands. Or go to a museum or two. It's like, is this a type of education a special education person has to have? I'd even tell my sister it's a waste of tax money. But you know what? My mom thought it was great because it was an education that most students don't get. So they get to encourage it. Looking at Picasso's painting, it's like, you know, or a Rembrandt, you know. And you wonder why people say, oh, well, you're disabled, you're taken away. Well, in my opinion, being disabled isn't fun, but at the same time, it wasn't bad growing up. It was just when you're my age, you think, you know, the whole thing is pointless. But nowadays, you don't hear about life skills or special ed. You have to Google it. Find a website that talks about what the programs are now. Because back then, ours was answering phones, phone book work, and grocery shopping. And then once in a while, like I said, we had to do stupid things like apartment applications or interviews for an apartment, or interviews for a job, or putting in job applications, which we know damn good and well we weren't going to get. They just wanted to let us learn how to do it, you know. It was like, I don't know. And then, you know, certain things like, oh, we're going to this pond, or we're going to, you know, this park or whatever. And it's like, why? Why? You know. Well, at least I got to fix things with with Carrie before she left, you know, for 8th. And then I kept in touch with her brother, and it was fine. And then when he went in the 9th, we disappeared. And then things happened, and well, you know. And 9th grade was interesting because we had the same damn thing as 7th and 8th. I remember the day we got into school and the teacher looked at me and said, "You got something special." I was like this. What? The new bed I got, the bed squeaks. I'm trying to fix it. You know, we're supposed to be challenged. She's like, "Oh, don't worry about that. Get on the bus." I got on the bus. Bus driver said, "Oh, how are you?" I'm like, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm the bus driver. Your current driver drove away, but I'm a special bus." "Where are we going?" "No teacher's aides, nothing." Got on the bus, door closes, my friend's sitting there like, "Oh yeah, anyways, haha, isn't it funny?" And I'm like, "No, it's the end of the year, what the fuck?" We're sitting there driving along. I told the bus driver, "Take your time, lady. Wherever you're going, we don't have a teacher's aide." "Oh, don't worry, you don't need a teacher's aide. We got permission for this trip." "What, are you the teacher's aide, bus driver?" "No." Next you know, we pulled up to the high school, got out, and the teacher's greeting us. "I'm your home teacher." I even used the vulgar words. "Who the hell are you and what the hell do I want with you?" "Oh, I'm your home teacher." "No, you're not. My home teacher's back in this grade." "No, for next year. When you come back in 3 months after high school, to start high school, I will be your teacher." I looked at them. What the fudge? Then I saw Carrie. She said, "Oh, this is my teacher. Don't worry." I said, "Baby, I'm not worried about that. I'm worrying about this jackbooted, you know." But she left after that, you know. And her brother disappeared too. I think they went to another school. But next thing you know, we had to sit there and teachers asking me all these questions. It's like, what the hell? I don't want to answer. All I want to do is wake up still. I'm sitting there like the bed squeaky. Well, we'll talk to your mom. My mom hated that high school. It was just like she had to go there all the time. She finally just, when the final straw was once something happened to me, that was it. My mom said, Talk to this. Said, "Sue me." "Oh, we can." You know, my mom used to say, sue me." She was challenging them for legal action. When she found out we were living in another county, they didn't challenge us. It was like, no dice. But when we had to go through that whole, it was like, we moved in March. I went from September to March in this school. And in that time frame, it was just pure hell. It was like every freaking day was mainstream or special education, shopping, or going places. When I had to skip out on mainstream, the teacher said, "Well, I'm going to fail them because..." Well, we had to take them to downtown Seattle. We had to take them here. Heck, we had to go to the Capitol several times in our special ed classes just to see how legislation works to make things. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sit on a bus for 3 hours one way early in the morning when you get dropped off really early before school even starts to get on a bus to go see the Capitol, talk to the legislators, have lunch, and then ride all the way back just enough to get home, to get on the bus to go home and be like, "How was your day?" "Boring. We went to the Capitol again." Olympia. Yeah, My teacher, Mrs. Johnson, who was in special ed, didn't have life skills at the time. She recommended life skills to my mom too, you know, but she's the one that, I remember a mainstream class once, or one mainstream class where we had to go to the Capitol. Our bus got on. I'm sitting there like, this sucks. Next thing you know, I'll go over. All my special ed friends are with me. Teacher's like, "Why does it suck?" "I don't want to go." But then I looked over. Teacher's wearing white tights or, you know, pantyhose. And I'm like, oh, well, she was a redhead. "Yeah, all right, okay, I guess I can go." We just truck along, you know. It'd be like, boring. Cool, boring, you know. But yeah. And then the school-sponsored camp crap that happened that got me transferred. The mainstream school-sponsored camp thing, because I failed 6th grade. They're gonna fail me and push me back. Instead, my teacher turned around after my mom talked to her at Denny's, have her transferred to, we're in the same school district, transfer to this school, have the bus transfer everything. It took a lot of complications. Get the files transferred, and I will pass her to 7th. But for the next month and a half, she's got to go to school here. Next you know, my friends, the one who was with me, my best friend for childhood, Greg, he had to be stayed back in mainstream there. He said, "Oh, well, you're not going to school. They're going to punish your mom. I've heard about it." I said, "How are they going to punish my mom?" Well, when I ran into Greg's mom, she's like, "Oh, you're going to be punished. I know the whole story about the school-sponsored camp, and you're going to be punished." And turned around and says, "How am I going to be punished? Go talk to Mrs. Johnson." Well, Mrs. Johnson's in another school. Yeah, my mom transferred me. That's how furious. They're like, yeah. And then after that, Mrs. Johnson got me into 7th. Well, when my friend Greg barely made mainstream 6, they transferred him into 7th, and he had a different teacher for 8th grade, I think it was. No, he had the same one as me, but he started using vulgarity at the 7th grade. He was just fed up. But anyways, he had stuff happen to him in school sponsored camp. But the bottom line is, all the special education crap, in my opinion, unless you want to go every freaking week to... It's not even halfway. Anyways, I better cut it short, but the bottom line is, as I said too, as Angela said, the video had to be made, but at the same time, it was pretty useless and pretty pointless. Because frankly, the special education classes were just downright stupid. That's right. Stupid is as stupid does. But you know what? Now I look at it and they were trying to teach us something, but back then I thought it was useless. We weren't even challenged. Heck, my mom had to bribe me to go to school because I thought it was stupid to go to special ed. It's like, oh well, you know, she wanted me out of the house for several hours, and it got me out to go places I wouldn't even have thought of, you know. Ferry boats and bus rides and train rides and, you know, stuff like that, you know, different useless places, you know. Oh no, not train rides. But train rides as in, you know, we had to go to the county fair and they had a train there. Full train, never been on one until I went to Cleveland with Aaron. But, you know, at these little mini trains. So we had to go to fairs and county fairs, state fairs. It was boring. So, but I guess in some ways I got an education that I should be proud of, as Cigar Addict would say, because his taxpayers paid for it. Personally, in my opinion, if it's anything, the disabled people should be on disability. If they've diagnosed a person with disability younger, before 18, they should continue to be on disability after 18, but I don't think they should go through the torment and anguish of being picked on, attacked, antagonized, and being told, you're a retard, you're never going to get married, you're a retard, you're never going to have a kid, you're this, you're that, look at that girl, she's got big boobs and she's attractive, but you're never going to have her. You're going to have a retard for a wife. But you know what, I'd rather have a retard for a wife than someone who picks and attacks people just because we had to go to school for special education. While they're sitting there, and this is the other thing in my other video I did, where I said people are unhappy that we got handouts like disability or, you know, because we are disabled, but things like game systems from our parents, you know, we should just have a cot and a bed and look at the wall or glance through dream catalogs like Sears. But no, you know, I mean, I've had people come to me now, because I'm almost 40, and they say, hey, what was it like in the 80s, man? I said, you ever heard of Fred Meyers? Yeah, man. Fred Meyers used to sell guns in their sporting good department. Sears used to sell guns in their sporting good department. Ever since this happened, that happened, they just decided to get rid of the guns and just sell groceries and everything else, but not guns. Now you got to go to a specialty store, like a gun store, to get them. Not that I'm talking about that in general. People have asked, you know, well, what's that got to do? It's the 80s. The things that we've seen in the 80s don't happen in this day and age. We didn't have, as Aaron was talking about in one of his videos, the old touch dial phone. He had the old rotary phone, you know. I had a touch phone. I had the first cell phones, like the first cell phones from like 77 to like 80 something with bag phones and car phones. But we had one of those transportable big block phones. We had those. Nowadays, they're so small and compact or big and blocky like a tablet. It's not even funny. But back in the old day, we didn't have tablets. We didn't have computers. Computers were more expensive. 486 were about $6,000 back then, the IBM ones. Aaron's dad probably remembers those days, so because his dad's a computer programmer. So if you look at the entire picture, it's amazing what we have to go through. I mean, there's a girl at our grocery store, being funny now for a second, that lived in the 80s. Aaron knows her. Her name's Leanna. Right, Aaron?
Yeah, I know.
What does she love? She loves her Nintendo, the original Nintendo. You talk to people nowadays, that's so childish and old. That's archaic. So be it. Angela said she has the original Game Boy. Bless her heart, pea-picking little heart and soul. You know, nowadays, too many things are too expensive. Too many things are going around. And now you just got to sit there, you know. And as Aaron said, if we ever have kids, he has kids or I have kids, we want to raise them properly, to teach them to be respectful, decent, and not attack people because they're disabled, elderly, or because they had to go through special school while everyone else has to sit there in study hall studying for their papers. We got stuck in with, today we're going grocery shopping. So there you have it. Between field trips all the time, grocery shopping, clothes shopping, Christmas shopping, Thanksgiving dinner shopping, Christmas dinner shopping, all these other things, Easter shopping. What did we get out of it? Torment and anguish. Now, the government knows what they're doing with these programs. They're trying to set these people that have a weaker mindset and weaker IQ to know the basics so they can go into school. Get in, not school. The real workforce. Now I'm going into circles. The real workforce, or get on disability, live by themselves when their parents die. My parents are dead. My family's disowned me. All I got is Aaron, Angela, and a couple friends online. Everyone else, I don't know. And then I get attacked and ridiculed. With that said, everyone, thank you for listening. Angela wants to see this as soon as possible. I'm tired. I got to use the bathroom. And as you can see behind me, if you can see this, this is one of the only two things I got from when my mom died. Aaron decided to hold on to it because my sister said I didn't deserve it. It is, right here, a remote-controlled lift chair. Can turn into a semi-bed, too. And I just wish it had a vibrating mode. This was my mom's when she was in hospice. There was a power chair, but my uncle stole it. So, this is like my little royal throne. So, with that said, everyone, I hope you understand I don't like being picked on, attacked on for being disabled and being in special ed. With that said, I'm going to have Aaron plug this in, but I'm also going to ask Aaron to set it up so I can upload this. And I'm glad I got to do one video at least here for Angela in Aaron's apartment. And I want to thank Aaron for the time for me spending 90 minutes on this video, and I want to thank him for testing out these games for me on his system to make sure they're not locked, because heck, I don't mind sharing, but I don't mind spending an extra few dollars for his Christmas presents, getting him the same games, even though he's got his Christmas already put away. That said, everyone, oh, and before I go, the other special ed thing I want to say is, we grew up, we had to go through catalogs. We didn't have the internet. Now we have the internet, so things are more simpler. I bet you they're even talking to special education, life skills people, how to use the internet to look up YouTube videos. And for you, cigar addict, I'm just going to throw in the joke. I didn't appreciate being attacked and called a retard. I accept your apology, and I want to ask you for your apology for, if you watched it this long, for calling you a jackwagon. I was upset at the time.
You mean you wish to apologize?
Yeah, I wish to apologize to you. See, I'm just out of air and out of breath. Apologize to you for calling you a jackwagon. I understand you probably are upset. I was upset too, because I tried to explain the best of my abilities of my disabilities. I also wanted to explain, to Angela and to others what life skills special ed is and why I think it's pretty much a waste of time and taxpayers' money, because I got an education where I had to go around 90% of the time on field trips and everything else, and it didn't make me happy. I got stuck with the whole blah 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 type thing, And now, I will upload this, and then tonight, after my shower and my Bible time, I will watch this on the 55-inch TV. For all of you, may God bless the world. May God bless me. May God bless Aaron. May God bless Moppy and Blizzard. And may God bless Angela and everyone else in the world. Thank you. God bless you all. And have a good night.